if you start tracking behavioral data, synthesizing it, building insights from it, recommend decisions, and interestingly, if we are so lazy, we outsource that decision as well to a machine or to a intelligence that supposedly will replace our real intelligence. So these two very, very dichotomized view between the two probably tell you something about humans are still needed, not needed, it is prerequisite that we make all this moral judgment and moral decisions. It's up to us how to sort this out into something that's more coherent.
Thanks, Ranti. So I think it makes sense. It actually boils down to eventually the type of task you want the AI to do, but eventually the main decision of what Jay also mentioned in terms of the judgment aspect, you still need to boil down to human. Jay, any input on this?
Maybe I'll touch on the employee aspect, just to balance what FT has shared. A bit of a personal sharing also, because I think over at Pulsify, we are also in that journey, right? Figuring out how to use AI across the organization to help our employees. I think one big takeaway for me is we have to actively support employees to learn it and embrace it and use it. As opposed to just tell everybody, please use ChatGPT for this or whatsoever, because without the right support, it's difficult for many people to even try and to then accept to say that actually this can be part of my work. Which means that actually for all these lasting changes to happen, the organization needs to play an active role in it, beyond just saying top down. I think for me, that was the more bottom up that really created the momentum for the change to continue. And why I say continue is because it is not saying done, right? Every now and then you got to go through the cycle again.
Thanks, Jay. Yeah, I think that's very important. I think a lot of employees still feel very worried now about the current situation, but if companies provide the clarity in terms of how roles will change, how AI will be impacting them and their work, will get them a bit more engaged. So thanks for that. Maybe Jay, I'll carry on with you on the second question, Jay, since you brought up in terms of the employees, right? Which roles and functions do you believe will experience the biggest transformation change over the next few years?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned about it a bit just now during my presentation. What I'd like to share here is, if you just think back, right, around how software first came up to help to automate processes, right? You have certain steps to do in terms of paperwork, so the software helps you to automate that, to get the right approvals and so on. And for me, it was sort of automating an existing process. But sometimes you don't think about whether or not that is the best process. We're basically sometimes doing the wrong thing right, or doing the wrong thing better and faster, right? And why I bring this thing out is because that's a bit happening today also. AI is very good at some things, including generating content, right? So have you ever run into this situation whereby you are looking for some insight about something, and our dear chat friends give you pages and pages of stuff, and you're like, see what are they trying to say, right? So we have come to the point of relying on AI to generate the content, but then we lose the ability to start to make sense of it, right? Where's the critical thinking to say, what is the message out of this? Why am I doing this? And then we start to question, why are we even generating that content in the first place, right? So a lot of process that we do in the workplace, why are we doing it in the first place? So for me, actually, beyond what I shared just now about how a lot of jobs have the potential for augmentation and automation impact, I think it's also an opportunity here to dig a bit deeper into how much of this process still needs to stay current in view of the AI today. Given the fact that AI can generate a lot of these things so quickly, how important are these things to us anymore? Right? Maybe that's the question I'd like to leave for you guys to think about as well.
All right, thanks, Jay. Maybe Susan, your perspective on the workforce development, do you think organizations are being prepared for the shift, especially when it came to things like
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I think overall the organizations, they are prepared and they know that this shift is needed and it requires change in that sense. But transformation, it needs more structural at the scale and speed in terms of the AI-driven workforce in this case. You see, like a lot of reported by example AWS has shows that the record of 81% of the Malaysia employers struggle to find a data analyst, AI specialist, and further on to that, Gartner shows that only 20% of the Malaysian employers feels that their workforce is AI ready. So it's more on towards that should we ask AI adoptions or we shall focus on is the human capabilities readiness there. And in this case that from the peopleologist perspective is that we observe a lot of time that companies are so busy buying a lot of licenses for ChatGPTs, Claude, and all other tools, AI tools that we call it. But there is a status quo in terms of their learning structure, their operational culture, and furthermore, they are being tied down by a compliance-driven KPI. And on top of that is that big corporations, they will see that they have the infrastructure ready, but how about the SME in terms of the AI adoption rate? And this SME, it contributes 80% of the Malaysia backbone. But sadly to say that only 15% of this SME is showing the indication of AI readiness. So from the perspective of the peopleology in a nutshell is that it's more towards about building a adaptable workforce readiness along with a continuous learning culture. And most importantly is the leadership that is able and ready to redesign work rather than just digitize it.
Thanks, Susan. Sam, I'm going to put you on the spot here, sorry. Do you see a change, a vast difference compared to SMEs or MNCs and GLCs in how they are embracing this AI and change of the roles, functions?
Okay, yeah, thank you. The National AI Office is an agency that looks over public and private sector. So to your point, your question is from the private sector. I'll give you a 360 view of the country. But before that, you can actually will be able to download a copy of what I'm going to say. It's called the AI Nation. It's a call to action for Malaysia for the next 60 months. Where are we going to be? All these conversations. Where are we going to be for the next 5 years? In terms of talent, in terms of ecosystem, demand, supply, technology, people, data, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of regulations and governance, and also in terms of, perhaps we can start the last one, on AI infrastructure. AI infrastructure is not hardware or model. It's not just those two. The third one is what is the most important. It's actually the data itself. And the data that forms part of AI infrastructure is what you can control. The model you download, the infrastructure you get off the cloud. But the data, especially when it comes to data that you own, you have all the capability of oversharing, undersharing, and there's so many acts of government today that are designed pre-AI. Like what you mentioned, they are pre-AI. They don't understand the regulations and policies today. They do not understand what the impact of AI is. So hence, there's an agency within the government called BAYU. They are revising, looking into all existing acts of law, like Company Act, Copyright Act, and everything else due to AI. So if I can go back to the talent part, on the talent part under AI Nation, we talk about 3 types of talent to cover Ashley's question. The first talent is what all of us are today. We are existing workforce. We need a plan on how do we move existing workforce, how do we augment their capability, how do we not fear of AI, but actually AI augments things that we have not done before. That's existing workforce. And then you have the second dimension, the upcoming workforce. I interface to all three sectors. The upcoming ones are people today in universities. These sort of forums with vice chancellors and scientists and lecturers, what are they doing? Are they teaching students to do coding still, whereas AI can do coding? But there's so much schools of thought that are all demonstrating that actually in university, it is best for you to go deep in your domain rather than be on the surface. The deeper you are in your domain, whether you are studying or lecturing or researching, AI can never cheat you because you know you can pick up the hallucination very quickly. But if you're very weak in your domain, if you are a weak accountant, you are a weak doctor, then AI has that capability to replace you. But if you're really good in your field, you will automatically see AI as something that can make you better. So the advice that we gave to the second group is please go deeper. If you're studying accountancy, go deeper. If you're studying radiology, go deeper. So that then you will use the best tools as your diving set. AI is one of the best tools. The third group that we cover is K-12, our kids in school. Kindergarten, year 12, SPM. What about them? In 10 years' time, they'll be sitting there. Do you want them to be AI ignorant? Or what sort of values that you want them to have? But more importantly, it's not what they learn, it's how the educators are teaching. You want the kindergarten teacher to know what to teach, side by side with AI. You want the secondary school cikgu to know what to teach in class, side by side with AI. That means you still teach, but you have AI tools as part of teaching. Students will still learn, but you have AI tools that you learn side by side. So you learn maths, biology, physics side by side with AI. Imagine that. Today we have seen, even the last few months, you can upload a piece of textbook into Claude and can produce you a very interesting infographics, even video, making learning so interesting. That's what you can do as an individual, but is the teacher doing it for their class? So to your point on the workforce, whether it's MNC or GLC or companies, this AI Nation book that I'm talking about gives everybody the single lighthouse. What is it as a country that we should be having in the next 5 years? Because if we don't, then we will find that perhaps the transportation sector will be doing AI in that way, agriculture sector will be doing AI in that way. Nobody is doing AI in the one single way. So, and we need to come together because number one, human resource is expensive, you already know. But number two, more importantly, is other countries are doing what I just said. So if we don't get our act together, as in what I just mentioned, then it's very common that somebody says that I'll go to Singapore and earn more. I'll go to US and earn more. But it's not about earning more. It's about having the chance to upskill and contribute back to where you are, having that opportunity to grow, to be involved in interesting implementation. So what we've been doing in National Air Office is two parts. Number one, we are advising, telling all employers, not just send people up for training and do assessment, but please purposely create AI projects. And AI projects can fall in three main areas. Number one, the standard, we use AI to automate. We don't want to do certain things, we give the AI to do it. Fine, that's the easy one. Second one is there are processes within your organization that have been set up before AI. Procurement, legal, human resource, and these processes can be shortened or taken over by AI agents. And therefore, it will become more efficient. But the third one is the most exciting. The third one is you use AI to produce something that never been done before. New products, new services, innovation, no legacy. So imagine government using AI to produce new products and services that you as a citizen at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can do something that you couldn't have done before. So In the employment sense, please create AI projects. Whether it's small, typically should be small, like weeks and months, not years, maximum maybe 6 weeks. So that you can get people to be involved and get their hands dirty. You can get that vendor ecosystem to be involved and to get their hands dirty. So that's what I feel all private sector should be doing. Public sector is also doing the same. When National AI Office was set up, we quickly gave Gen AI tools, Gemini and LM, to about 500,000 civil servants out of 1.4 million. 500,000 is a lot. And we gave them those tools and also change management along the way so that they appreciate that when it comes to policy making, they don't have to read 10 PDFs manually. Just upload the notebook LM and it will do a podcast. And they can listen, and then therefore policy making, government documentations are being churned out today much faster. But of course, this is still not widespread nationwide. So we are scaling that one up. At the same time, we have institutions like Intan, JPA, which are the HR for public sector. And we're going within that ecosystem to upscale everybody, 1.4 million, towards 4 levels of AI competency. So the elephant in the room for any AI implementation in the country is government. Because private sector knows what to do. You have that competition. But government, they require a lot of debottlenecking and a lot of lighthouse, a lot of leadership, so that then that progression of not using AI and becoming an AI nation is quite clear for our country. So fingers crossed, you will get a copy of this AI Nation booklet in a few weeks' time. And it tells you the story of what AI is supposed to be, what it's going to be for sectors that we live in. You know, what does AI look like in healthcare, in transportation, in defense? And hopefully we all get there eventually.
It's very encouraging to know that we have a booklet coming out which our lighthouse for the next 16 months. But just you know, right, AI changes really fast. I hope it's not cast in stone.
It's not cast in stone in terms of a national blueprint. It's not designed to be tied by technology, but it's designed to tie society and economy to move forward.
Thanks for that, Sam. Got one more question for you, but before that, briefly, FT, I want to ask you this question. I think Sam brought up a very good topic, a good point there. Currently, I'm sure you have multiple generations working. How do you balance the use of AI with all the various generations, from strawberries to X, eventually that to React? How do you balance AI with this multi-generation workforce?
Well, I'm fortunate. 90% of my generation that is in my workforce are below 25 years old. Retail. You can't have a 45-year-old sitting or standing for 9-hour shift. So, but interestingly, their strata in the society is not the same as banking, for example, of course. But again, you know, it's AI now, regardless of what platform, what tools are part of life. Just that not everybody using Anthropic, but a lot of them are already built in. It's free, it's built in. If you have, if you use Microsoft, you have Copilot built in, at least the free version. ChatGPT you can download free, Gemini you can download free. And from a content perspective, obviously, people are using it anyway. People are using AI anyway, built in Google or whatever, that they're using it. At least from a deliberate perspective, how is the adoption? Probably we have 3 segments of, or 3 categories of AI technology that we use, right? And what I always see a problem, you know, Sam, you would agree to this as well, from a perspective of the user, is it is the easiest to do is technologizing. I don't call it automating because it's beyond automating now. It's technologizing, just applying technology to bureaucracy. So it's the same bureaucracy, same slow approvals, the same barriers, because culturally it hasn't changed. It's the same thing. Unless that change, technology will not help. Actually, technology doesn't it makes the bureaucracy faster. So technically, it makes the bureaucracy deeper, tougher. Because now you ask Claude, to justify why the bureaucracy is there. Trust me, you check it and you say, give me 3 reasons and give me sources why bureaucracy is there. This is the current power brokers still want to maintain the power, right? And they'll come up with 3 things. I tried this morning before I came. So something called, since I talk about fraud, right? One thing that Claude said tells, 87% of fraud is committed by tenured employees. They say, doesn't sound right. So I ask, where do you get the source? Cite the source, cite more than 3, and ensure that they are all corroborating. You know what the answer came back? Sorry, I must be hallucinating. There are no specific single source. This, while I'm building the deck or whatever, it sounds good. I'm paraphrasing. Perhaps you should use this data as well. Instead, totally different. Imagine if the same thing is asked by a strawberry generation. It will take it as good, will pawn it as their own, and then use it, God forbid, in a non-harmful manner. Imagine if they use it and hypothesize on something. So I think it's, you're absolutely right. I think a lighthouse is important. It must be technology agnostic. And thirdly, it has to give a sense of North Star, what to do, and policies are very, very important. And you're right. In Asia, we are working with absolutely Jurassic Park, dinosaur level laws. I mean, 1955, are you kidding me? Yeah, it changes here and there, just like maybe 2% have changed over the last 70 years. It's staggering. It's staggering.
Thanks, FT. Sam, quick question on yourself, Sam. Biggest misconception organizations, even government sectors, have on still on AI adoption?
My reply is to echo your point and go deeper. AI definitely hallucinates because of the number one thing that we are at fault for. I'll give you an example. Bahasa Melayu chatbots. So if you ask Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka, if you have friends there, Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka is the authoritative. It's like Oxford for English, but Dewan Bahasa is for Bahasa Melayu. If you ask them, have they shared Bahasa Melayu data with any body in the AI space? The answer is no. Okay, what's the big deal? If AI does not get authoritative punca yang sahih untuk that data, for that data, in this case Bahasa Melayu, I'll give you like an example. If the AI is not getting data from the authoritative source, it's going to get from somewhere else, automatic. It's going to get Bahasa Melayu from social media, the strawberry language. Like I don't even do it. Like the whole, the data and grammar and all and Oja and whatever else. So that's one point. Another point is, so long as the authoritative data owner is not sharing, in this particular case, we have Bahasa Indonesia, which has 10 times more usage than Bahasa Melayu. Don't be surprised in the future that the more the data owner is not sharing, the more the data is going to be replaced by something else. So our kids will eventually speak Bahasa Indonesia. So this is in the Bahasa Melayu context. What about in the context of Agama Islam, or in the context of Mandarin, or even context of authoritative sources like scientific discovery and stuff like that? So AI puts this whole discussion of data ownership on its head. And unfortunately in Malaysia, we have a culture of not sharing data. That's a culture. For you to share data, you must do this kind of event. MOU, signing, 2 companies. Because it's not a culture for us to simply give away. But in AI, if you're the data owner, you are the only one that got this data, and you're not sharing, the hallucination happens so easily, like what he just said. So this is the misconception of things. When people use, I'll give you a perfect example of the misconception. My mom, before Hari Raya, like 2 months ago, she insisted that Hari Raya falls on Friday because ChatGPT told her so. And she argued with me, like, Sam, how wouldn't you agree with ChatGPT? And I told my mom, ChatGPT knowledge of liar comes from, I don't know where, because Jakim is not sharing. Jakim doesn't share. So ChatGPT, liar or passer, falls on whatever day comes from US. So you get it? So so this is the misconception part. If for you to master AI, you must understand AI. There are two parts in the DNA of AI. There is one part called probabilistic, and the other one is called deterministic. By DNA, Gen AI, generative AI, is a probabilistic, kebarangkalian in Malay. It knows what is the kebarangkalian, probabilistic of the next word to follow the first word. That is what Gen AI is. But in some other AI, it's deterministic, meaning it's like a light switch. When you turn it on, it turns on. There's no halfway. So be careful on how you implement AI in your use case. When I speak in a room like this with medical people, it's all about deterministic. But if I speak in a room like this full of social media guys, they love probabilistic because you can create another photo which is in the same prompt, and the photo will be totally different. The image will be totally different because it's probabilistic. It's based on what is the next image after this image or next word after this word. There's no really strong linkage. So therefore, be careful what type of AI that you implement. Ask your vendor, and hence why National AI Office comes up with other things to govern AI. For example, AI standards. If your vendor does not adopt local standards or AI standards, then what standards do they follow? Standards, as you know, are very important. The power plug that you put our socket to the wall, 240 volts, is got an MS sticker, Malaysia standard. Without that, you will think twice of plugging in because you might get short circuited. Same thing, AI vendors must have standards. And whether it's international standard, China standard, Malaysia standard, that's up to you as a client. That's number one. Number two is be more assertive on the data part. Because you have no control on developing models. China, US develop models. You also have limited resource to build data centers. I mean, these are big boys games. But the third one is you have complete control of the data that you put in or you don't put in.
Hats off to your mother, man, using ChatGPT.
Well, I force her so.
Susan, question for you, Susan. Are organizations generally rethinking their business models for AI? Or are they just simply, what you mentioned, throwing in outdated technology on outdated structures and calling it transformation?
Yeah, Ash, this is very important questions. I suppose that a lot of organizations out there, they're thinking that how can I make the slide look sexier? My work prompting email auto reply much faster. First thing you need to sleep, but your reply is auto reply. All these are productivity AI, but they call it is a AI transformation. So a true AI transformations, it requires beyond that it covers the journey of inside out, that I call it, it should be coming from the workforce adaptability, and then the operational structures, and also as well as the creating the value of the customer journey. So this is a overall holistic inside out approach in this AI-driven economy that organizations should create. And this is what we name it as true AI transformations. Okay, you can see that in the social media nowadays, a lot of AI washing syndrome. What is the AI washing syndrome is corporations are doing retrenchment, optimizing, scaling down, but without a fundamental and a structured approaches. So what we observe at Go by Peopleology is that a lot of forward-thinking organization, what they do is they have transitions from a job-based to a skill-based, and indeed it's an intelligence-driven kind of approach. So what we want to do is that it gives a more agility and a holistic way of an organization is supposed to be.
Thanks, Susan. Jay, I'm just going to put you on spot here as well, Jay. on the global perspective, do you see this different organizations rethinking their business models for AI? Or maybe on the Singapore's perspective, yeah, based on our neighbors.
I think the short answer is yes, right? Short answer is yes because okay, I think AI has enabled a lot of business models and products and offerings that weren't there before. I think we all know that for sure. And I think that definitely translates into how the organization is run to achieve that, right? So I think the short answer is yes. But I think what I want to do is to dive deeper into that. Maybe what is interesting to share, echoing what Sam has mentioned also, is to think about what is the core competency of the market or industry or the company, right? Because the core competency is the thing that sort of weathers through different kinds of trends, but it's what should be played up for that entity to be relevant, right? So when you mention things about Singapore, so the perspective here is that we all know it's a small country, right? You can't scale a huge global business out there, but because Singapore is a small country, it's one city, it implements and does things really fast, right? You spoke about bureaucracy, so because the country is so small, you don't need to have so many departments running it. So it's easy to test stuff, but then there's no way to scale. So then you got to scale it somewhere. Then Singapore as a country is prepared to say, okay, let's take on the next thing because this big thing is not going to scale here, right? So then when it comes to countries like Malaysia or other countries, then what are the core strengths that we can leverage as the competency such that we can have the technology come through? Maybe you can lift that to a next level, or maybe we need to be prepared to say next thing is coming through. Right, so that's sort of a country level. I think when it comes down to companies, same thing, right? The company has the core competency. It's the core competency about the talent ecosystem that it creates to generate new ideas, or it's the core competency about go-to-market channels. It's the core competency about brand, right? I think these are also things we should think about because as the AI comes through, really it's about amplifying some of those things, but the core competency stays there.
Thanks, Jay. I am cognizant of the time due already. Just final 15 seconds from everyone. If there was one advice you would give for organizations on what they should look forward for in AI adoption. Maybe start with FT, after FT. 15 seconds, everyone. Yeah.
5 seconds. AI is about human amplification. I fully echo. It's not augmentation, it's not replacement for sure. It is how do you use AI to amplify what we're good at. Before that, we need to understand what we're good at first.
Thanks, FT. Sam?
Humanoids.
Humanoids.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many development in the last 6 months, China in particular, but also US, where I'm going more on 50 seconds, where people in households can purchase humanoids or robots of our size, our height, for specific tasks, folding clothes, washing dishes, and these are LLMs. To me, it's exciting because there's a lot of things in our house that we don't like to do. So we don't mind outsourcing to the humanoids. But what's more exciting to me is that the industry of humanoids, not just the humanoid in your homes, because the industry of humanoids has got a lot of potential for vocational people, meaning those in the vocational people where they're hands-on, instead of just running or setting up workshops for cars, they can also set up in the future that corner shop, workshop for robots, where when you buy one of those humanoids and it doesn't work, the limb is not working, you send to the local humanoid workshop. And you see all our skilled guys, not just the academic guys, but our blue-collar guys, doing really well. And I'm hoping for that.
Actually, it's so true. Only yesterday, there was a company in China released this AI robot dogs to manage the house, take care of the house. So it is already in filtration.
Yeah, my hope is that when the robot doesn't work, it's not being sent back to China. It's being fixed by our guys at the local Taman workshop, and they just know how to open it up, fix it up, and get your dog going again.
Jay, any last?
I would say ride the wave. Now is such a great time to be human.
Susan.
Yeah, do the right true transformations DNA now, and to echo Sam, is about human and AI collaborations.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate your time. Right? Yeah. So I would like to get Susan, if you could just give a slide, give a gift for our speakers. You see that?